Alright, welcome everybody to another episode of just Lines for Zion, whatever you want to call it. We're going to try a different video for this time, because we want to play a little more into the algorithm, get more people to watch us. So if you're not subscribed, quickly do that. Now let's get into the video. We're going to try reacting to this YouTube video. It's talking about the history of Israel and Palestine conflict. Let's get into it. It's going to start.
Israel, the world's only Jewish...
Okay, look, it's a great start. We're doing great here. They cut off the West Bank and Gaza. Whatever, let's keep going.
State located east of the Mediterranean Sea, and Palestine, the territory of the Arab population
Palestine doesn't exist.
that hails from the Israel-controlled land, have long been known for their
Disputed Israeli government. Huh? What part is that? Is that like Jerusalem area? I think part of that is Jerusalem area. Hold on, let me pull up a map before I look really stupid. That's like close to Road 6. Part of this is this part. It is Kerme Yosef area, Latrun. Yeah, that's Pagmini Said Chavet Elohim. Yeah, that's like the Trun area. That's disputed? Why? And then the other part goes like this. So yeah, the other part's Jerusalem. Okay, so Jerusalem and Latrun. Anyway, keep
their
going.
enduring conflict with the Israeli occupation of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip.
Wow, this is going to be an interesting video. Israeli occupation? Come on, people. No, it belongs to us. We have historical proof that it belongs to us. We've owned it throughout history. We've even given them we've given them land to live in. As you see, it's Palestinian government, mixed governments, Israeli military control. We've given them A, B, and C, like the areas for them, like part of they can control. It's like, no, not occupation. But keep going.
The tension between...
This is going to be a video that from what I've seen in the first 27 seconds, it's going to be spinning the history to make it look like Israel's the bad guy. So let's keep going. It's going to be interesting.
Israel and Palestine has been deteriorating in years, climaxing... What? The tension between Israel and Palestine has been deteriorating in years, climaxing with many violent clashes between the two sides. To understand the roots of the Israel-Palestine conflict, we have to look back
Let's go back to that animation a second. I like it that it's a drone and the missiles. I'd like to point out that the drone attacks the missiles after the missiles hit Israeli civilians. But we'll just forget, we're spinning it to make it look like Israel's the bad guy, so let's keep going.
To understand the roots of the Israel-Palestine conflict, we have to look...
Also, the Palestinians don't have those type of missiles. They don't. As far as I've been taught, they don't have those. They tend to just put, anything as a missile. They don't really have, anti-tank, that's like a full-on military. They don't have that, but anyway.
Look back a few thousand years ago.
Oh, wow, we're really going far back.
Early history of Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
1,000 years? What?
In the 17 centuries BC, following the call of God, 3 patriarchs of the Jewish people, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, settled in Canaan, a region approximating present-day Israel, the West Bank, and the Gaza Strip, parts of Lebanon, Syria, and Jordan. The region later had the name the Land of Israel, the Promised Land, the Palestine region, or the Holy...
It wasn't called the Palestine region. Anyway, keep going.
Holy Land. In 1000 BC, King Saul established the Israelite monarchy, which then was ruled by King David, who made Jerusalem the capital of his kingdom, and his son King Solomon, who built the first temple in Jerusalem. After the death of King Solomon, the united monarchy was split into the Kingdom of Israel in the north, with Samaria as the capital, and the Kingdom of Judah in the south, with Jerusalem as the capital. The land became home to a majority of Jews, but then it was subject to numerous conquests of various groups, leading to the significant decrease of the Jewish population.
Okay, quick add-on. First, the Kingdom of Israel was taken out by the Babylonians, I think, or Rome. I don't remember right now. And then they brought down the Kingdom of Judah. Yeah. I don't know how this has to do anything related to the Palestinian conflict, but let's keep going.
On the land. One of these conquests was conducted by the Roman Empire, who gave the name Palestine to Judah, intending to break the Jewish connection with the land of Israel. During this time, Christianity, which started as a Jewish sect, ultimately became a
Christianity was not Jewish. Jesus was a Jew, but Christianity was... okay.
dominant religion toward the end of the Roman Empire. In the 7th century came an Arab conquest, beginning the spread of Islam.
Got it.
The Dome of the Rock was built on the ruin of the Second Temple, making Jerusalem the holy city to 3 monotheistic religions: Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. After Christians in Jerusalem were intensely persecuted by the Seljuk Turks, a Central Asian empire with ambition to expand its territory, Christians in Europe launched several crusades to bring the holy city back to the hand of the Christians. During this time, many Jews were killed. Others were making pilgrimages everywhere, mostly in Western Europe. From the 16th century to World War I, the Holy Land, along with much of the Middle East, was ruled by the Ottoman Empire, an Islamic superpower. The land was unofficially called Palestine. At the same time in Europe, more and more Jews were joining a movement called Zionism, aiming to create a Jewish national state in its ancient homeland. Hence, in the first decade of the 20th century, tens of thousands of Jews...
I personally love how whenever there's a character of a Jew, it always looks like that. Like, Jews just wear a kippah, or Jews don't wear a kippah, or Jews look like that, or Jews are from Europe, or Jews are from the Middle East, or Jews are from Russia, or Europe, or Jews are from anywhere around the world. But we always look like that.
Moved from Europe back to the region. Israel and Palestine under the British rule. World War I exploded and ended with the collapse of the Ottoman Empire. Its land in the Middle East was carved by the British and French empires. The British then gave more independence for Iraq and Jordan, and the region remaining under the control of Britain was what it called the British Mandate for Palestine, where Britain promised to establish a Jewish national homeland under its Balfour Declaration, which went into effect in 1923. Tensions between the Jews and the Arabs who both claimed the land grew, which even led to acts of violence. By the 1930s, following the increasing Jewish population in Palestine due to the fear of persecution during the Nazi reign in Germany, the British limited Jewish immigration. In response, the Jewish militias formed to both fight the Arabs and resist the British rule. Then came the Holocaust.
While I think it was the Palmach joined the Brits to fight the Nazis in Germany. But whatever.
Throughout Nazi Germany, which claimed almost 6 million Jewish lives. After the war, more and more Jews then...
If I remember right, it claimed more than 6 million, but 6 million is an easy number to just say, so that's what we go with. It's not almost 6 million.
Fled from Europe to Palestine to seek a homeland, escalating the tension with the Arabs.
No, they fled from Europe to the British Mandate of Palestine. It's not Palestine. Palestine isn't the country, it's the British Mandate of Palestine, because as he said before, the Romans changed the name to erase the Jewish heritage there. Keep going.
Overwhelmed by the situation, Britain began to withdraw from the region. The birth of the Israel state.
Woohoo. The state of
After
Israel.
World War II, the...
Is that grammatically correct? Let me know in the comments.
UN proposed a plan to partition Palestine into 2 independent states, a Jewish state and an Arab state, with the city of Jerusalem becoming an international zone with a special status. However, the plan according to which the Jewish, accounting for only 1/3 of the population, was granted more territory...
Whoa, hold on. Yes, the Jews had a lot more of the land, but let's look at the map for a second. Okay, so look at the Jewish land, which is in the light blue, compared to the Arab land. Yes, they have a lot less. We'll give them that. But the Arab land is a lot thicker. We've made a podcast episode about that. Go check that out. But first of all, most of the Jewish land is in the desert, which is mostly inhabitable at that time because they didn't have the tech that we have nowadays. And the parts that are up north or whatever, Some of it is like 3 kilometers long, which is tactically impossible to defend. So yes, you could say that the Jews had most land, so obviously they'd agree to it. But from a tactical and defensive standpoint, and from like a living standpoint, and from basically anything except for just dry land, it wasn't good for the Jews at all. And yet,
Jewish, accounting for only 1/3 of the population, was granted more territory. 56.5% of the land was rejected by the Arabs. They began to...
Yes, of course it was rejected by the Arabs, because the Arabs don't want part of the land. They want everything. They want every single Jew to be dead or out of the country, probably dead, and they just want the entire land of Israel.
Form volunteer armies throughout Palestine. Less than 1 year after that, as Britain completed its withdrawal from Palestine, Israel declared itself an independent state.
Why not cover the flag over the entire Jewish state?
Marking a new, bloodier chapter in the struggle between the Jews and the Palestinian Arabs. The 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Right after the announcement of an independent Israel,
אנו מכריזים בזאת על הקמת מדינה יהודית בארץ ישראל. היא מדינת ישראל.
a war between the Arabs and the Jews broke out, which was known as the 1948 Arab-Israeli
War of Independence.
War. The war involved 5 recently independent Arab nations: Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon, the Arab League, who invaded the region in an attempt to establish a unified Arab Palestine. However, a ceasefire agreement was...
You're forgetting the fact that the Israel side of the war was a tiny country that has been around for just a few days against 5 superpowers. Super nations. It doesn't really seem like a fair fight, and yet we won.
Reached a year later, in which more than 2/3 of historic Palestine, including...
I'm done. Historic Palestine? Dude, come on. Come on. You literally said earlier in the video, the thousands of years ago, the Romans, I keep saying that, the Romans changed the name so that they can erase all Jewish connection to the land.
It's conducted by the Roman Empire, who gave the name Palestine to Judah, intending to break the Jewish connection with the land of Israel.
And now you're calling it Palestine as if it was always owned by the Arabs, as if it was belonged to them. They have no history there. They're a bunch of random Arabs who decided to take care of it, to take control of it. It's our...
The West Jerusalem belonged to Israel, while Jordan occupied East Jerusalem and the area known as the West Bank, and Egypt occupied the Gaza Strip. As a result, more than 750,000 Palestinians were expelled.
Wow, this is getting worse and worse as the video goes on. Anyway, no, well, yes, but also a large chunk of those left because the Syrian, I think, Prime Minister at the time told them to leave. We also made a video about that, I think in the same video that we went through all this. Yes, they were told to leave by the Syrians, and also a lot of them were fighting, so we kicked them out. It's not like... yeah, whatever.
From the land where they lived for centuries on the...
Yes, but we lived there even longer. You forget the fact that you started off pointing out that we lived here longer.
The day that they call Al-Nakba, or the Catastrophe.
And we call it Independence Day because we won. It's our land, so ha.
With the deteriorated dispute between the Jews and the Arabs, there came more wars and fighting in the following decades. The 60-Day War.
Yo. Oh god, that's amazing. Oh my god. Oh, let's watch that again.
Decades. The 60-Day War.
Oh, he said it again. Oh wow. Narrator, you're dumb. you wrote on the screen the 6-Day War. Unless there's another war I didn't know of called the 6-Day War, but it's actually 60... I don't know. Oh god. Oh. Wow, that was... I don't know why that was so funny.
It was in 1967 when the 60-Day War
broke out. Oh, he said it again. Oh my god, he said it again. I did not expect him to say it again. Oh, God, wow, okay.
after a volatile period of diplomatic friction and skirmishes between Israel and its neighboring Arab states, Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. This brief war ended with the victory of Israel,
60 days isn't brief, man. Contradicting yourself.
giving Israel control over the Golan Heights from Syria, the West Bank and East Jerusalem from Jordan, and Gaza and the Sinai Peninsula from Egypt. Sinai was later returned to Egypt under the Egypt-Israel Peace Treaty. After the war, most Palestinian refugees and their descendants were not allowed to return to their homes, but had to live in Gaza, the West Bank, and neighboring Jordan.
I wonder why. Maybe it's because they attack us and try killing us, so we kick them out of our country. Who would ever guess?
Syria, and Lebanon. The First Intifada and the Oslo Accords. The rising number of Israelis settling in the Palestinian territories in the
It's not the Palestine. No, just keep going. It's not the Palestinian territories. It's Israeli territory that were stolen.
West Bank and Gaza gave rise to the PLO, the Palestinian Liberation Organization, first founded in Cairo, Egypt in 1964 to create a liberated Palestine in Israel. The PLO launched attacks on Israel from its base in Jordan. It was then forced to move from Jordan to Lebanon, starting to carry out acts of terrorism against Israel. Fighting went on for years, including the Israeli invasion of Lebanon to kick the PLO out of Beirut. The PLO eventually agreed to divide the land between Palestine and Israel, but there were still more and more Jewish settlers moved into the Israel-occupied Palestinian territories.
What was that music?
In 1987, a violent Palestinian uprising was ignited, starting from the Jabalia refugee camp after an Israeli Defense Forces truck collided with two Palestinian...
Okay, so I'd like to point out that he's drawing Gaza and the West Bank as it's completely not controlled by us. It's still partially controlled by us. I think Gaza specifically, Gush Katif and things like that, is still controlled by us.
Civilian vans, killing 4 of them. This was known as the First Intifada.
Let me Google that. I don't actually know what officially. Not you. Let me officially figure out what caused the First Intifada. Ew. Wikipedia, you're anti-Semitic. I love this. The two sides are Al-Qaeda, Al-Mawada, Fatah, PFLP, DFLP, PPP, Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, supported by Iraq, and Israel. Okay, sure. Yeah, okay. According to Wikipedia, that's what happened.
This bloody conflict, resulting in hundreds of deaths, triggered a peace process with the signing of the Oslo Accords by Israel and the PLO, the Oslo I Accord signed in Washington, D.C., and the Oslo II Accord in Taba, Egypt. According to the Oslo Accords, the West Bank was divided into 3 areas. Area A was exclusively controlled by the Palestinians.
Annexed by Israel? Dude, come on.
Area B was controlled by both the Palestinians and Israel. Area C was fully controlled by Israel.
Oh, Area C. Okay, sorry, anyway.
The Second Intifada. Though further peace talks continued in 2000, the Israelis and Palestinians could not reach agreements on issues like the status of Jerusalem, rights of refugees, and the increased Jewish settlement in Palestinian lands. Ariel Sharon, a Jewish Israeli who would later become Israel's prime minister, visited the Temple Mount, home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem.
That was built on top of the remains of the Second Temple, like you said earlier.
The Dome of the Rock was built on the ruin of the Second Temple.
But you were so good at spitting it to make it look like Israel's bad.
The action was deemed offensive by many Palestinians, and the Second Intifada broke out.
Really? You think that the only reason that the Second Intifada broke out is because Ariel Sharon went up to Tarabayit? Really, dude? Really? That's what you're gonna go with? Wow. As if there's no other reason. They were just looking for like a single trigger. Wow. I have to say the PLO, Hamas, and all those people are really good at PR.
The
public
violence
relations.
ended with Israel's withdrawal from Gaza, but continued to settle in the West Bank.
Which we should have never, ever left Gaza, but that's a completely different video.
Israel conflict with Hamas.
It's only caused more danger, more conflicts, and more problems.
Hamas is a Sunni Islamist militant group aiming to destroy the state of Israel and create an Sunni Islamist militant group.
Sunni Islamic terrorist group. Please, use the correct terms.
Aiming to destroy the state of Israel and create an Islamic state. After the armed conflict between Hamas and Fatah, who managed the PLO, Hamas split from the Palestinian Authority and gained power in the Gaza. Israel put Gaza under a suffocating blockade, leading
Oh, you poor people. We're stopping you from stabbing and shooting at our civilians. Oh, the poor, poor person.
to several bloody wars between the two groups in the Gaza Strip, including Operation Cast Lead, Operation Pillar of Defense, and Operation Protective Edge.
Dude, come on, even your animations are just mean. Before you had, like, the missiles going back and forth, and now it's only us shooting them. Come on, dude. Like, come on. They're shooting at us, we let them hit us for a few days, and then we attack. Get the facts.
In 2014, Hamas and Fatah reached agreement to form a national unity government.
Good
In
for them.
2018, the U.S. Embassy was relocated from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, which was deemed by the Palestinians as a signal of American support for Jerusalem as Israel's capital.
That is true. That
2020
that actually makes sense. You know, when you move it's a dumbass.
21, the conflict between Israel and Palestine was reassumed by a series
It never really stopped. It stopped during the pandemic and when Trump was in office, but mainly the pandemic because, like, they were dealing with their own stuff. But, you know. Okay, let's go through this animation. They don't have those type of missiles, and those, I guess, are supposed to be like tanks, but in actuality, those are the Iron Domes, or should be, which are a defense system against their tanks, or against their missiles, to stop them from killing our civilians. Also, it kind of looks like the Israel's shooting first.
series of hostile events in East Jerusalem, leading to several acts of
It's
violence
called
until a ceasefire
terrorism.
deal brokered by Egypt, Qatar, and the United Nations came into effect on May 21st. Peaceful though it may seem now, the complex and long
Oh, this video is a little bit out of date. It's not peaceful. They're trying to kill us again. As usual. It's summertime. They like killing us during the summer. It's a good summer vacation for the kids to go out and stab Jews.
long-lasting territorial dispute between two states is a ticking time bomb that can explode any time.
Dude, it explodes about several times a year. Anyway. Look, that's the end of the video. Anyway, thank you for watching. This has been another video from Lions for Zion. This is very, very interesting. Send us your videos. I'll put the Google Docs in the description if you want to send any there. This video will also be in the description if you want to go have fun in the comments. And I'll see you next video.